Ladies and gentlemen, hello, hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Sherm in the Booth. My name is Sherm. You guys are some true Chicagoans for coming out in January. It's snowing outside, it's freezing, and you're at the fucking club at 1 a.m.
Boys with the bass, yeah, boys, bass.
Who am I talking to right now? You're famous.
Free food, free drinks, music, girls. Let's go.
Do you like it? Cool. If you don't, goodbye.
I'm missing the most important part.
Boys with the bass, yeah.
We should throw like a crazy bar mitzvah party.
This is crazy. Send me stems. I finished it.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
Just wait, you know it kicks in like 3 to 5 seconds afterward.
Yo, what's good, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm, and guys, I am so excited for this interview today. It's with one of my favorite DJ producers in the game, based out of LA. He goes by the name of On One. And wow, W-O-W, all caps, does this episode take you on a ride. I've known Forbes for a few years now, and it was so much fun finally getting his full story and hearing about his hard-earned journey to where he's at now. And trust me, it's been hard-earned. He's on a righteous path that comes from a very genuine place of love and passion, maybe a little bit of hockey. Also, he's hilarious and cracks me up. I know for a fact that whether you're a DJ or not, this interview will have you entertained. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. This is episode 226 with On One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sherm in the Booth. I'm here with my brother, Forbes, who now goes by On One. You might have known him from previous project called Forbes, but man, he literally is On One these days. You're on a fucking roll, brother. Your music, your shows, your branding, your content. Like, I'm so proud of you, man, and it's great timing for you to come on Sherm in the Booth, so welcome.
Thank you, brother. I'm stoked to be here and can't wait to get into it.
That was a pretty hype intro, wasn't it? Like, I didn't.
That was a big one. That was a big one.
Came for me a little echo right there.
The booth.
What's your favorite type of echo? Like a tape delay, stereo delay, like an echo, like what triplet you're using? Because I've that's like my favorite effect on a mixer, and I always have like, it's just fun to me. But I see a lot of people use it differently, just in production.
I've been getting a little creative with like formants and using like manipulator, I think is what it's called from it's like the company that does wider it's infected mushrooms. Yeah. And I'll throw that on a send, and then I'll do like delay and reverb sends, and then I'll like pitch them. So like as like the delays are like behind the vocal, they're like a different formant. So like it's kind of like, it's like a separate layer, and then it just depends because I'll do like 3 or 4 different delays. I'll do like tape delay, and then I'll do like an 8th and then 4th and then a 16th if it's like you want to add like some rhythm to the vocal.
Yeah.
So it just depends. There's a bunch of different ways to go about it.
Damn, we're kicking it off with some expert advice, ladies and gentlemen. Pen and paper out here. But
vocals are my favorite thing to produce and record, and then
really.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of work with original vocalists. Like your Hood Polly track was an original vocal.
I think almost every single one of my tracks is actually all original vocals.
No shit. Wow. Like your own vocals, or just working with a vocalist, or both?
No, just working with vocalists. I want to get into like working with my own vocals, but it still sounds weird to me. So, but no, I love, there's a lot of amazing vocalists that I've worked with, like Kira Mastro, Brianna Grace, Sativa is a new one that we're working on. But it's exciting to me because you get to create like a whole story and kind of something that builds off of the brand rather than just like taking a splice sample.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think it's great that like you've found a connection with vocalists who are like driven and passionate. And like, I mean, in my experience, there's tons of vocalists out there, right? But everyone has a different process. But if you can align with people that do work well, either remotely or in the studio or whatever, you have the same mindset, then there's nothing better, dude. I completely agree.
100%. Yeah. And I actually early on when before the pandemic, I was doing hip hop, and this was before I got into like EDM. And I was producing for like Duro, like ice cream paint job.
You were?
And yeah, we did an EP together. It never got released, but my roommate like had connections with a bunch of hip hop artists like Sada Baby, Cam, who I forgot who he's cousins with. I think it was like um Trippy Red or something like that. I don't remember. But
Shit.
so I would like bring in hip hop artists and then hire engineers from like Salt Mine in Arizona.
Mhm.
And I would make the beats and sell my beat packages, hire the engineer to go like record them and engineer the vocals. So then like I was working one-on-one with the artists, like the hip hop artists, and like building my like understanding of like how to like work with vocalists, and like everyone's different, right? So like you kind of
Yeah.
have to like create this like mold, or not this mold, but like you kind of like find a way to like work with a bunch of different like people and different like workflows. So that was
Yeah.
super exciting, and like gave me a lot of experience of like how to kind of run a
Yeah.
vocal session.
Dude, those rap studio sessions, like, in Chicago, there's a few just like, studio's a studio, right? But
Yeah.
nowadays, there's so many producers that work in the studio, and it's still a lot remote or in their own home. But I feel like rap music creation is like, you got to be in the same room, whether you're in a studio or an
Hmm.
apartment, wherever it is.
Yeah.
Like, we've all seen the old videos of like Travis Scott with the blanket over his head, of course, Kanye West, like all the old heads, man. And the energy when like there's a beat being made with rappers writing lyrics, or if there's songwriters and a rapper and a producer and then beat makers and then an engineer, the energy is like fucking unmatchable, bro. It's one of the reasons I love rap music so much.
Yeah. And you got to be real, like in hip hop and rap, like being a beat maker, you got to be quick,
Yeah.
and you got to have an understanding of like that genre, the vibe. Like
Mhm.
there's so much that goes into it. And so like when they roll in with their crew, like everyone's in their studio. So you got like there's time when there's like 15 people in my bedroom. And I had the room like decked out as a full studio, but like the energy was just like intense. I'm like, all right, like I'm on the spot, like I just gotta cook. And so
Yeah.
that was super dope to like be put in those positions that like you're on the spot. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you got? And you're like, fuck.
Wow. Well, what about these days when you're making dance music? Or do you put yourself in those situations where you are under pressure?
Not as much as I used to, and I think just because the process of making a song um can be a lot longer. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
like I think I want to get back into like the creation side of like, okay, put myself in a situation where I'm comfortable, but like also with producing now, like Morgan from FOMO, like
Yeah.
he's developed a lot of cool tools that like before he like launched all this stuff with kick and bass, like I had access to like all of these generators and these like AI tools. So like this was like for a year and a half, and then he started like releasing it. I'm like, bro, you're giving out all the sauce. Like everyone's gonna have it now. But like those things, like especially the sting, with like going into a scale and into a synth, like that stuff creates ideas so quickly that
Mhm.
like you can create tracks. And if you build out your own templates, like to where you're not having to like do all the processing, like you have everything kind of like
Yeah.
set up for success, like it definitely speeds up your creation process.
Yeah, for sure.
um but yeah, I definitely want to get back into like doing a lot of studio sessions with other producers, because I feel like I've done a lot of work on my own like singles, because I'm like I launched the project what like 7 or 8 months ago,
Yeah.
and I kind of wanted to put out a lot of originals to be like, this is my style, this is my sound,
Yeah.
and then go into like collaborate with other producers. Because sometimes I feel like when you do a lot of collaborations, people don't necessarily like it's like, is it your sound or is it the other person's sound?
Totally, man. I'm in that situation right now where it's like I know what my sound is, and I really love collaborating because I'm trying to like lean into what I'm good at right now with production because I need to put music out, It's just like
Yeah.
the fact of the matter. So I have some solo tracks like Friday coming out that is like all me. And
Hmm.
I think when people do hear a solo track and then they go back or they, remember some of your collabs, they can see, but
Yeah.
rarely is it 50-50 in a collab. Like I think we can both agree with that.
Yeah. That's so true.
Just because of the creative process, right? Like it's a great idea, not necessarily like a workload, but like if somebody makes an insane bass line and a really good drum loop, right? that's not a whole song, but that is like the foundation of it.
Hmm.
You need to structure it right. You need to get some vocals on there. You need to fill it out, like whatever it is, pads, FX, all the good
Yeah.
stuff. But I do agree with you, man, when it comes to like your own solo project. So is On One done any collabs then, or is it all solo?
I've done a couple collabs since what we have like 9 records out right now.
Yeah.
And the drop was a collab with Apollo XO.
Of course, shout out to
Um,
Apollo.
yep, my boy. Yeah, I think he's in LA right now. I gotta hit him up.
Yeah.
And then Divinity was a collab
Yeah.
with Don Parm.
Mhm.
And then the rest of them, production wise, um, I think they're all singles. Like
Mhm.
I've obviously collabed with the vocalist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But besides that, unless I'm forgetting one, I think the rest of the 7 were pretty much all.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot,
And
man.
then right now I have 9 unreleased records, and out of
Yeah,
those
you've sent me
9,
some of them. Holy motherfucking shit, people. You have no idea the heat this guy has. It's like I got chills like with every track. Like you really are making something unique that's like not tech house. It's
yeah,
not just for the average citizen out there. It's not John Summit. It's not Tale of Us, and it's not even a fusion. But I hear a lot of inspirations on like sort of a heavier get
mhm,
after it side, which like
yeah,
reminds me of the old Forbes Alini. But like now it's like you're on one, and it kind of makes sense to me, like just from the branding perspective. So it's really cool to see you like fuse those things together, man.
yeah. I'm definitely stoked to get a lot of the unreleased music out. It's been a bit of a challenge
Mm-hmm.
with getting the music out because like we launched on site my label, and we did a lot of those early songs through that label because with a new project, like it's tough getting labels to support
Of
the
course.
project, especially off the start.
Mm-hmm.
And now like we're doing a really big push with labels, and we're trying to get at least like 5 or 6 of those records of those 9 like put out on labels that can co-sign us to like take the project to the next level.
Of course.
And I feel like it's challenging because like if the songs aren't a perfect mold for that label
Yeah.
or sound like everyone else in the industry, then sometimes the labels are like, oh, it's not really what we're looking for. So
Yeah.
like it's kind of tough because like if you're making something that's different or like a fusion or that's kind of, I don't want to say like new, but like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's got its own flair to it, then like sometimes it's tough for like getting labels to bite the bullet because you don't sound like everyone else.
Yeah. And like on the other side of that coin too, you do have to be different if you want a
Hmm.
label to be like, this stands out to me actually.
Yeah.
Because how many fucking Latin tech house songs are out there with the same fucking vocal or a variation of that, right?
Yeah.
So I think what's most important for you and artists in general is to like have fun in the studio, find the sound that really fulfills you. And I love that you
Yeah.
started your own label to like kickstart it. I think that's incredible, dude. Like I've been talking about this a lot. It is a co-sign with the label, right? But like if an artist isn't believing in their brand like a label would believe in their song, then it doesn't make sense. Like it's a marriage, it's a partnership. So if
Yeah.
you need to build it up on your own just to get to a place where you do have a foundation, your music is being heard, that matters to labels, that matters to fans,
Yeah.
that matters to the artist. So I think you're thinking about it perfectly, man.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And you said you have a team, right? How many people are on your
Yeah.
team?
Like management wise,
Yeah, like how many people like
um,
are involved in this
so
project at this point?
so I'm with Midas Touch,
Yeah.
which is Corinne, and she's the head honcho, and we have I think like 9 people. So we have a PR
That's fun, dude.
manager. Yeah, we have a content manager. We have assistant manager, day-to-day manager, like label manager. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of people that are working behind the scenes
Yeah.
uh, to keep this running because we got what like 6 or 7 people on the team right now, and I'd say I'm at the bottom of the totem pole for sure. And I mean, we got like Side Piece, we got Henry
Yeah.
Fong, Freak On, FOMO, Miles O'Neill.
Yeah.
There's some amazing talent on the team. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, she definitely put together within the last like 9 months, the team has really like grown to a crazy point.
It's
So we have
amazing.
there's a lot of great people, and so we're actually all staying together in Miami. We got a house, the
That whole
management house.
crew.
Yeah, so the whole
Oh,
for
I'm
the
coming
so
over.
the most part, I think almost most of the people on the team are there, and then most of the talent. So it's like a 15 bed place. It's crazy.
Where did you find that in Miami? Jesus, it's gonna be
Oh,
bunk
it's like
beds?
right in the middle of everything.
Of course it is. South Beach?
Yeah. It's like right next to Wynwood.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be there.
Well,
Jesus.
South Beach might do that curfew again, so
Yeah, I know. Well,
that always
Steve's
kind of
so
makes everything a
adamant on
challenge.
him in the fucking ocean, bro. He's like, I gotta go swim in the ocean every morning. I mean, I'm a big ocean guy too, but like, he won't settle for anything else. So I'm like, all right, just get whatever Airbnb, and I guess we'll figure it out. But the reason I asked you about the team actually is this question comes up all the time from like up and coming artists, which is like, when do I get a team? Like, when do I get a manager? When do I get an agent? When do I get a social media consultant, PR? And, for a long time, just on the Forbes project, right? Like, you're making content, you're making music, you're trying to get shows, you're doing all these things on your own. I think it's really important that artists go through that period where they may not be the best person at all those jobs, because we know you
Yeah.
have to do it all these days, but you do
Yeah.
know what you look for. And it sounds like to me, when you relaunched this project, rebranded, I mean, how have you officially said it? Rebrand?
Yeah, I would say a rebrand because we actually own the trademark now for
Wow.
on one. So we filed back in January of 2023,
Uh-huh.
and um Corinna was like, if we're gonna do this, like she's like, I'm not gonna deal with any bullshit of like someone trying to like take your name. Like we're gonna file for trademarking, we're gonna own it, and we're
Right.
gonna have like everything. So the label, everything is like the label's not trademarked, but it's all LLC'd, it's all like
Yeah.
properly owned and separated under a
Buttoned
parent
up.
company. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's buttoned up. It's been a while, but it's all done professional. But yeah, it's been a rebrand, and then but yeah, like you said, kind of doing everything and understanding like how to do everything. I
Mhm.
think content has been the biggest challenge,
Okay.
and more so of like kind of just accepting the fact that like we're in a different era now of like music.
Yeah.
And if you're not building your tribe and your ecosystem online and kind
Yeah.
of giving people like a insight of like what's to come and like
Mhm.
having that engagement, then I feel like you're just gonna slowly like die out as an artist.
You will, absolutely. I mean, I don't even want to say, like, I think maybe 2 years ago, I was saying it's the unfortunate truth. I like to look at it glass half full, man. I think it's a
Mhm.
fortunate truth.
Yeah.
We grew up, like, obviously as fans first, like so many artists and, old heads and stuff, right, that have been in the game that really like laid the foundation. I mean, I'm in Chicago, bro. Like, I'm 5 blocks away from the Warehouse where house music started, right? Like, I care about that shit, and I feel like there's a level of education that it's my duty to tell people where house music came from. But it's
Yeah.
also equally important for me to tell people, like, love how you said that, building your tribe. Like,
Yeah.
we live on the internet, bro. And if you can somehow show who you are in person, which is really hard for some people to do through content, when producers, a lot of the times, they speak through their music. They're not like the funny
Yeah.
guy on camera. They're not like the person who can come up with creative ideas on the fly every single fucking day, like some of these other creators who may have less musical talent. But I think it's a fortunate truth that we do have the opportunity to blow up so quickly and still maintain that audience, and like from a financial perspective, make money without having to do everything in person through touring.
Yeah.
Because like that is a very cumbersome game. It's what we want to do, but like you can tour at a pace that makes sense for you while having people subscribe to your Patreon, buy your merch, buy your records, stream your songs, right? Like that's the only way an artist can really make it on the over the course of a long-term period, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but dude, I know you got a great story, so I want to rewind it back to get like from when you decided to take music seriously to where you're at now. But I want to start a little bit before then, because first off, people need to know that your real name is Forbes, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which I mean, they must have used to be a little surprised by that. Like that was part of the reason for the rebrand. But like, tell me just about growing up, bro, and what it was like for you, and then when music came into your life.
Um, so I grew up in Arizona, um, and I started playing hockey at such a young age because my dad was involved very much so with doing a lot of business in Canada.
Yeah.
So he
But he
was
was
tied
Canadian.
in. He's from Chicago, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So
Nice.
he's from the South Side.
Cool.
So living in Arizona, hockey's not really that big of a sport, obviously. But he was a part of like bringing the Winnipeg Jets to Arizona. So
Yeah.
we would go to a ton of games, and at a young age, I was like, I want to play hockey. So he got me into playing hockey, and that was pretty much everything. Like
Yeah.
summers, winters, travel. It
Jesus.
was my whole life.
Yeah.
And growing up, and once I got to the age of 7 was when I started playing travel, and we would go to Chicago, like the Nike Bauer tournament, and we'd be in New Jersey, New York, like all over the place, Connecticut. And at the same time, like everyone in my family played an instrument. So there's a baby grand piano in our living room. We had an organ upstairs, like we had the drum set, we had everything. So like
Wow.
art and music was like a big influence in our family. So like I would wake up every Sunday and my dad be playing the organ. And so
That's fucking epic.
it's great. So I wasn't ever classically trained in music, but I just like would play piano and like I would listen. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound right. I'm like, that sounds right.
Yeah,
And
natural ear.
yeah, and I played saxophone in the elementary band. And then kind of as I was just progressing, like sixth grade, I actually went to Guitar Center and I was like, I want the SX2, like the red one, like the
Yeah.
red mixer.
Yep.
And this was in New Jersey. We ended up moving to New Jersey, and he was like, no, like I'm not buying you this DJ stuff. Like I'll get you a drum set. So he bought me like a full ass drum set, like a really nice one.
Damn.
And he got me lessons. So like I'd be playing drums in the basement, just
Whoa.
ripping. And so as it's like progressed through, like I started like producing in Garage Band, and it was just like making loops and like kind of like little hip hop beats. And because
Okay.
like I wasn't really big into electronic music at the time, it was kind of more like Kanye, Eminem, Linkin Park,
So how old were you then at this point?
This was what, sixth grade, seventh grade?
Okay, so still pretty
So
young.
yeah. And I had a big influence from like Linkin Park and Aerosmith at a young age. So kind of like all like rock and roll kind of
Yeah.
vibe. And then fast forwarding to like junior high and high school, I switched to Logic Pro. And um when I was playing hockey, like some of the other guys were like making hip hop beats with Logic. So I was like, why don't we just like get together
Yeah.
at the hockey or like one of the billet homes
Yeah.
and essentially just like make some hip hop like tracks. So we ended up, this was in Aberdeen, South Dakota, fast forward to when I was like playing junior. So this is like, I was like 19, I think, and 19 or 20. And so we ended up making a win song for the hockey team, like a hip hop, yeah, rap song. So
That's
I
sick.
produced the beat, and then it was like, I think his name was Joey Strada. This is literally like our last year junior hockey. So we made the win song. We're in the locker room. Everyone's like jamming out to this song. I'm like, this is sick. And this is when it kind of started to like the wheels started to spin. I'm like, I kind of want to like do this
Yeah.
because it's just fun.
Mhm.
And so I ended up going and playing hockey in Minnesota for college.
Okay.
And during the summertime in Arizona, like I would kind of make hip hop with my other buddies and like really kind of build out my studio. So I had vinyl turntables were my first decks. They were
What?
I think they were um what brand is like the Techniques? I think I had
Technique. Yeah.
Techniques and then like a Newmark mixer or something. I don't remember. This was so long ago.
This is so
And
rare, dude.
so
Really.
I was like, I want to learn how to DJ with vinyl.
Yeah.
So that's how I got really good with like understanding like beat matching.
Mhm.
So like when people have 2000 non-Nexus and you got no waveform,
Yeah.
it's like, let's see who could really actually DJ. You know what I
That's
mean?
right, dude. Yes.
So, so yeah, I mean, it started progressing and like kind of taking off, but I was still playing competitive college hockey. So like hockey was number one.
And you were a goalie too, right?
Yeah, I was.
That's
So
important to know because a hockey goalie, bro, your guys' minds work fucking different.
yeah.
Like I played
So
lacrosse, and the lacrosse goalies a lot of times came over from hockey.
yeah.
And they're the most athletic, craziest motherfucker on the court, on the rink, like whatever. Not on the
Yeah.
court, on the field. So props to you for that, man.
Yeah, there's some videos of me fighting out there as a
100%.
goalie.
I want to
But
see one.
So the transition from hockey to music full time came when like I said, the last year of junior hockey before I went to college,
Yeah.
um, we had to go to the clearinghouse for the NCAA. And at such a young age, when I moved away to go to prep school, they made me repeat my freshman year because they're like, oh, our curriculum, I went to school in Boston. So they're like, our curriculum's a lot more advanced. We'd prefer if you just did freshman year over again and do the full years. I think it was more of a cash grab, but they're like, we just want your money.
Yeah.
So I did that and I was like, I hate this. So after the year, I was like, Dad, I'm coming back to Arizona. And I ended up playing juniors in Texas. So when I went to play juniors in Texas, I was supposed to be a junior in like high school.
Mhm.
And they were like, well, you only did 2 years of freshman. So we're going to take your second year freshman and apply it to our sophomore curriculum. And then we'll put you in your third year of high school.
Wow.
So long story short, fast forwarding back to when I was supposed to go into college,
Yeah.
the NCAA realized that happened. And they were like, that doesn't like fly with us. You're missing your whole sophomore year of high school. So we ended up filing a lawsuit with the NCAA suing them
What?
because we were misadvised from this school
Yeah.
because I had like 10 NCAA Division I scholarships for hockey.
Holy shit.
Because if you go and look back at my last year of junior hockey, I won goalie of the year. We won the division, went to the championship, and I had offers from Minnesota Duluth, Yukon, Denver, like the list goes on.
That's amazing.
So because of the clearinghouse and me not getting through, I lost all my scholarships for D1 hockey.
Shit.
So that's why we sued because we're like, yo, what the fuck? Like for the last 10, 15 years, 20 years, I've been playing hockey competitive, trying to play D1 and go pro. Like this is everything.
Right.
So we ended up winning and I got my clearance back. But by this time, it was like a couple weeks before the school year started.
Yeah.
So all the schools and teams had filled their rosters. So at this point, I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I had to go play Division III.
Oh my
And
God, bro. This is crazy.
D3 hockey is not as great as Division I.
No,
And
I
at
know
this
that.
point, I'm at the peak of my career. Like I'm playing the best hockey I've ever played. So I go in and play Division III, and it just wasn't really the same level. And
Where'd you
what I
go?
was, it was up in Minnesota, Duluth. It was
Oh,
at
that's
St.
right.
St.
And
Scholastica.
Duluth is up there.
Oh, it's fucking cold. So it was terrible. It was like negative 30 degrees. It was so cold. So I go up there and long story short, like the hockey was not that great, but I had so much fun. Like everyone out there was great. Like
Nice.
the school was dope. It was a really small, tight-knit community. So now I'm kind of like, well, if hockey's not as serious as like it was before, then like I have a lot more time to make music.
Mhm.
And so it was homecoming, and in the hockey house there's a closet. It's called the tickle trunk, and every time we have a party and people leave things, they would throw it in the closet, and then if you want to for the next party you want to go find an outfit, you would go in the tickle trunk. So like remember when we were in San Diego with the wigs and shit and the
Yes,
hats?
yeah.
It's like stuff like that, like just
Okay,
fun,
okay,
goofy shit.
okay.
So I go in the closet and I'm like, all right, I'm looking for something. And I like feel this hard thing. I'm like, what is this? I like pull it out and it's a Newmark DJ mixer, like from like 2010, like an old one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, what is this?
There we go.
And I go up to the living room. I asked all the guys, I'm like, yo, like, I was like, is this like, can I go like plug this in? They're like, oh, it's just a toy. I was like, no, this is like really a DJ mixer.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, like you can try. So I run home and it's like the printer cable, like the
Of
USB.
course.
So I plug it in, it fires up, and it takes Serato. So I'm like, oh fuck yeah.
Wow.
I run back to the hockey house and I'm like, hey guys, like, can I DJ the homecoming party?
Yeah.
And they're like, sure. Like, I don't care.
There's no
So
other DJ, yeah.
no, they're all on aux cord.
Yeah, of course.
So I go around, I get everyone's favorite like tunes and like, what they play on for the parties. And I call my dad. I'm like, hey, like I'm DJing the hockey party for homecoming. I was like, I need like $400 or $500 to go get wood from Home Depot because I'm gonna build a DJ booth.
Yeah, of course.
So he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, come on, just help, bear with me. So long story short, I go build the DJ booth in the hockey house. The guys are coming down. I'm like power saw in the middle of the
Commitment.
living room. Yes. So I build this thing. It's like 3 feet off the ground. It's got the full front face panel with like the big flag of, I forgot what flag was on there, but super frat house vibes, but
Of
like
course.
in the hockey house. So I had no clue what I was doing. I like barely knew how to DJ. I had the turntables, but like at this point, it was still like kind of the beginning of all this.
Right.
So the transitions were terrible, but the music was spot on. No one really cared because no one DJ'd out there. So like everyone was used to like the aux music. It was one of the best experiences, the best times. People were crowd surfing. The booth was filled with people. We're in this like tiny room of a hockey house, like the living room. There's
Yeah.
probably like 300 people in there. And this had turned from that moment on, I was like, this is insane. Like I want to
Yeah.
do this for every fucking party.
That was like a high you'd never felt with hockey.
It was insane. Like
Wow.
it was wild. And I think the only other high that you feel is when you like win like in overtime and it's like a championship game. Like it was like up there. And
Yeah.
like when Shaq says like that game 7 like feeling, like it's fucking wild, especially now when you play like in front of like 2, 3, 4,000 people, it's like
Yeah.
at exchange sold out. Like
Yeah.
it's wild.
It
So it's
is. It's
that
so
feeling is hard to like to match.
wow.
So at this point, I started doing all the college parties in Minnesota. I started doing the local bars.
His one
And
show blew you up in Minnesota. That's fucking
it
awesome.
just kind of because no one was doing out there. All the DJs at the bars were like 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, just like, and their
Yeah.
music wasn't, they're just out of touch.
No, yeah.
So I started doing like Mexico Lindo for Tuesdays and like the Flame Friday, which is like a gay nightclub in Minnesota. And
Let's
like
go.
all the college kids would go and it'd be fucking insane. The energy, it was like Dancing Queen and all the fun music. So I'm like, I'm playing the Flame. So
Yeah,
my
of
first
course.
real nightclub was the Flame nightclub in Duluth, Minnesota. And
Shout out.
it was a gay club and they fucking went nuts and I loved it. It was so much fun. The energy was unmatched. And
Oh my God.
so it went from that to like, I was like, I have a decision to make. Like, do I want to keep playing hockey at the D3 level and go play like minors somewhere in like Iowa and make terrible money? And just like, I just at this point, like it wasn't about the money, but it's about like me being happy and like my lifestyle. Like so I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna transfer back to Arizona.
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
And
did you think about doing D1 like as a goalie at UConn or wherever? It just didn't
so
feel right at that point.
right. So like I still had connections with the coaches at ASU
Of course.
and in Arizona. And I called them and I was like, hey, like I'm gonna move back to Arizona. And if there's some opportunities for me to potentially like walk on to the D1 team eventually, like I'd love to do that.
Right.
And so they're like, yeah, like come back. You can play in the D1 club team. And if it makes sense and like you're doing well and everything, like we could do some summer skates, we'll do some tryouts and like we'll see where you're at.
Okay.
And I was like, bet, like perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I moved back to Arizona in the summertime. Like
Oh man.
I was skating with Austin Matthews. Are you familiar with Austin Matthews?
Yeah, I heard that name for
Yeah, he's
sure.
with Toronto. So
Yeah.
I'd be skating with like him and some of the Coyotes guys and like a lot of guys would come to Arizona to train in the summertime just because there's just the weather and everything. And like there's a lot of really great places down there to like work out. So
Yeah.
I was training, getting ready for the season. And during that time, I was going out to all the nightclubs and building kind of like my network out there. And then I ended up getting a mentor, Complex, DJ Complex from, I think it was like 98.3. He was like the radio DJ, but he would also play like Maya and Hi-Fi and Casa.
Sick.
So I was like, I would go all the clubs, I would record on my phone like what they're playing and like figure out like what are the top tracks. And then I would like start to put together like the playlists on like Record Box and just like trying to understand like what is hot in the scene right now. And this was a
Yeah.
lot of open format music.
For sure.
And I was asking all the DJs like, hey, like how do you get in the clubs out here? Like how do I become like a club DJ?
Yeah.
And they're like, good luck. Like
That's what I
Everyone's
was told too when I went to
they're
Chicago.
like everyone's a DJ. It takes time. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you know what? I was like, fuck this. I was like, what's the best way to like take over a club as a DJ? And I was like, if you got a fuck ton of people that roll with you, and if you sell bottles, like the clubs are all about money.
Yeah.
So like if you make them money and you pull up with a lot of people, like they're gonna book you over someone else that's not bringing anyone.
Straight up.
So I started promoting, and I was a nightclub promoter, and I would go on all the buses because the buses would take all the kids from Tempe to Old Town,
Oh my
and
God.
I would go and drink this shitty ass vodka.
Yeah.
And we were all on like the cheap tables, just the cheap
Yeah.
seats with all the college kids.
Yeah.
But I started to create the network and understand like who's running the game, who's doing what, like, and I really started to dissect everything. And at this point, like I was doing Tuesdays at Rodeo, like Saturdays at Varsity in Tempe, like
Damn, bro.
Hi-Fi and Casa and Old Town on Thursday, Friday. And
You're DJing
so
3-4 times a week?
I was promoting.
Oh, you're promoting. You weren't DJing.
I wasn't even,
That's right.
I wasn't even
Holy
DJing. I was a
shit, you were
club
just
promoter.
partying. Yeah.
I was partying like crazy.
Yeah.
But I was building my network out there.
Yeah.
And long story short, when I started to like work with other local DJs and producers, there was an opening at one of the clubs, and it was called Rodeo.
Okay.
And I told the owner, I was like, yo, like,
Ready.
let me DJ. And he was like, yeah. He's like, everyone's a DJ. And I was like, no, I was like, give me a Monday. I was like, I'll play Monday. I was like, I'll pull up with people. I'll sell some tables. And I was like, just give me a shot. I don't care. Fucking, I'll take your slowest day. So I went in on a Monday, told all my homies like I'm DJing, and no one really knew I DJ'd. So they just thought I was a club promoter.
Right.
So everyone's like, "Oh, Forbes is DJing on a Monday, like come through." So all the alcoholics came.
Yeah.
Everyone's there. So I played the set, and at this point, like I knew how to mix. Like I had like my transitions were proper. Like I had all
you
the
were working out behind this.
Yeah, I was practicing, and like, but at that point in time, I left out an important detail. My parents were like, if you're going to be going out and staying out till 2, 3 in the morning, like you're not coming home. Like you're waking us up. Like this isn't okay with us. So I was couch surfing.
Oh my God, dude.
So as I was going to all these clubs and promoting and staying out late, I was sleeping on all my homies' couches because my parents were like, this doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
So I play that Monday gig and it goes really well. And the club owner's like, all right, bet you're on for Thursday. So same week. I got a Thursday gig that week and played Thursday, did my thing, crushed it. He put me on Friday night. So I got Friday night in Mill Avenue, Tempe, and did it Friday. Then he put me on Saturday. So in that week, I went from a Monday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And he was like, all right, you're the resident. So I was doing every Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Rodeo Ranch for like a good like 6 to 8 months. And
damn, Forbes, that's insane. I mean, for it to go Monday, Thursday, Friday,
right.
Saturday.
But I think the reason it worked out so well is because I knew like when to take that chance. I knew when I like, rather than just being like, oh, I'm just going to jump into it because I want to be like, it's like knowing when is the right time to approach an opportunity.
Opportunity means preparation, baby.
Yeah. So like,
yeah, dude, I love this.
So I try to use that same mentality today is like, okay, if I'm going to send music or if I'm going to like reach out to a venue, like I need to know it's like that right time. Like when I made the leap to go to Icon in LA, like I had been wanting to do that since 2016.
Yeah.
Like back when Jaws was popping.
Yeah.
But I knew there's the time and place and like, when am I going to make that leap to LA? When is it going to make sense? So how am I going to stick? Am I going to be ready to where like, I don't just have to like, I missed my opportunity and I wasn't like prepared for that, like networking. So it's like, I meet the right person, but I'm not like ready because I don't have the music for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I was making like $300 a gig for DJing,
pretty good for
which
college.
is not bad. Right. And do you do that 3 times a week and then still promoting on Tuesdays, like I was making a good like 1,500, 1,200, 1,500 a week.
Yeah.
So I went to the owner after like a couple weeks of this. I was like, hey, I was like, can I throw you like 500 bucks a week or 500 bucks a month and I'll sleep in your like spare room or like I'll fucking sleep in your closet or your closet. I don't care. He had a 8,000 square foot grand penthouse in Tempe. So this was like at the top of everything. It had a full hot tub, pool, like the house was insane. And
Jeez.
he was like, there's a cot in like this kind of common area between two rooms that had like a sliding door. And he was like, you could sleep on the cot. And I was like, bet. So I was done couch surfing. I had the little cot. It was 500 bucks a month. I had a folding table with my laptop and I had headphones and a suitcase and I was literally living on a cot.
Wow, bro. Holy shit.
So, because at this point, my dad, I was like, if I'm DJing Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm making this money, like, fuck hockey. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go play D1 club. Like, I was like, it's not that great. And like I'm doing what I want and what I love. Like
Yeah.
I'm in there. And
Yeah.
the season was coming around the corner. It was like August. And I just told the coach, I was like, hey, like, I'm not gonna play.
Wow.
And my dad freaked out.
I bet.
Like, he was like, you're done. Like, I'm cutting you off, yada, yada, yada. So I was like, okay. I was like, I'm making good money. Like, I'm just gonna like support myself.
Must have been hard for him to understand because, like you
It
mentioned,
was
he declined even giving you, like, he bought you a much more expensive drum kit than a
right.
cheap DJ controller, right? Can you like tell me a little bit more about that? Like, I mean, because I feel like there are so many people out there who, I don't want to say he wasn't unsupportive, but it's just that
Yeah.
they don't understand. Like, my parents didn't either, dude. They were like,
Yeah.
you want to be a DJ? Like, they think it's cool, but like, there's got to be something else, right? Like, you're gonna have a day
It
job,
was
whatever.
it was because like I had a full ride when I was in Minnesota. So
Yeah.
like I wasn't paying for school. And then
Mm.
like he really like I was only a year away from graduating and thought I was like throwing away my whole like I worked all my time, like
Yeah.
20 years of hockey to get to this point. I was
Yeah.
in college. I was so close to like finishing and getting a real job. And so I was just like, you know what? Like I really just want to like give this a shot, give this an opportunity. Like this is what I love. And he was furious. Like he just was like, you're just throwing your life away. Cause
Yeah.
all they saw was like, I'm going out, getting fucked up, like, and I'm just DJing. Like they didn't
Yeah.
see, like my dad didn't see like the bigger picture of like the music and the production.
Yeah.
Um, so at this point, like I kept doing the gigs, I kept playing more and more things, and I was making more money. And a room opened up in the penthouse, like a full blown like room.
Nice.
So I told the owner, I was like, I'll take it. It was like 1,600 bucks a month. It was a killer deal.
Yeah.
So I move into the room and I go to IKEA. I buy all the furniture. Like I get settled in. I'm like, I'm in a room.
You
My
did
life
it.
is, I was like, I'm set. Like I'm comfortable. I could sleep. I could lock my door. I could sleep like quiet and like peacefully. Like so this is when like I really started like going crazy with production. Like I was hiring mentors, like I was just like diving in. And this is kind of when I started to shift into like the future-based trap era.
Mhm.
So I was making like because my hip hop shit, I was taking hip hop vocals and I was like, let me go crazy and do some like trap.
Yeah.
So went into like I was doing the whole trap era stuff, and then that progressed into like big room and electro house. And by this time was like I got introduced to a manager in Arizona. So I signed with the manager and started to release music and was putting money into the promotion and music videos. And that's when the Forbes project like started. It was born essentially. And that was, I think, Undercover was the first song. And
Yeah.
it was so like electro pop, like Hygo vibes. I look back and I'm like, I was like, what are you doing? But at the time, like that was the journey that I was on. At the time, I was like, this is exciting, and that's a part of like the whole entire journey. And this was 2020, so this is when Fly Kicks the Wax Motif remix came out, and
Yeah,
like
baby.
Medusa, Piece of Your Heart, and like
Yep.
Lose Control, like all the hits.
Yes.
So I was doing my thing in Arizona, and I met and ran into my best friend Steven. Um, and he was like, "Hey mate," he's like, "Do you want to go to this like after party?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we show up, and this is like full blown rave after party, like burner party.
Fuck yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, what's Burning Man?" It's like, I don't know what Burning Man is. And I come in and people have the glow things, and like people are in the cuddle puddles, and I didn't know what whippets were.
Yeah.
And and my buddy's like, Steven, he's like, "Yo, let's hop on." So we start DJing and like doing our thing. And then people are coming up and like, "Hey, like, can you play some like house music?" And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck like house, like I know what house is, but I'm not like deep house and
Yeah.
like melodic house and like tech house or whatever.
Right.
And so that was my first experience to like house music and the underground. And
Whoa.
on the way home, this was like the sun was coming up, and he puts on Inner Bloom
Oh,
by Rufus.
yeah.
And in that moment, when the sun just peeked over the horizon, and I think it was like 5:46 into Inner Bloom is when the chord progression comes in.
Jesus.
And we all started fucking crying. I'm
You
like,
did
why am
this
I?
to me with the sunset in San Diego. That's right,
Yes.
bro. Yes.
I was like, why am I crying right now? And I was like, what's going on? I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then from that moment on, like I taught him how to DJ and like do produce and shit. And he taught me, he cultured me. He just
Mhm.
like immersed me with the whole entire like culture of house music
Yeah.
and the underground. And in that moment, I was like, dude, fuck this club shit.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to do open format anymore. I hate it. Like,
Yep.
I don't want to play hip hop.
It wears
Like,
down on you, man.
it does. And I'm like, the culture of house music was so infectious, and it still is. And I was like, I would just want to do this. So that's when I really started to like go to Sunbarn and like Casa and Shady, and shout out Shady Park, love that place.
Yeah.
And that's just when I got like very immersed in the scene and started to like understand the culture. And at this point, like I wanted to start playing those parties, you know what I mean? Those like those venues. And I started playing at Casa, and I
Mhm.
started playing like after parties and like learning house music. And at that point, the guy I worked for at Rodeo, he was like, if you're gonna go play at these other clubs because you're my resident, like you can't play here anymore. And I was like, okay. I was
Whoa.
like, that's fine. I was like, I'm gonna go play at Casa. So I ended up becoming a resident at Casa,
Damn.
which is more of like, have you been to Casa in Tempe?
No, I've heard about it though. I've seen videos.
So it's a lot more college, like how electro, like house music, like
Commercial house, right?
yeah, like commercial house, and like they're much more like they don't really do as much hip hop. Like they have hip hop, but like they're open to like if you want to play a whole house set, they're like go play a house set. They don't care.
Nice. Yeah.
They're not gonna tell you what to play. Um, so I ended up becoming a resident there, started playing a lot of house music, and then got my first gig at Sunbar. Um, and this is like it was just kind of everything was kind of starting to shape as like an artist project.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to be a DJ, I want to be an artist. And to
Yeah.
be an artist, I felt, how can I separate myself from rather just being a local DJ? So I started to be very strict with like what gigs I was taking.
Yeah, you have to be.
So at this point, I was like, I'm not going to play every single weekend.
Yeah.
Like, I only want to play proper shows.
Mhm.
And then I started getting booked in LA for like underground parties.
Nice.
So I started doing trips out to LA and was playing some underground parties in Arizona. And at this point, I was like, all right, like, I feel like I'm kind of plateauing. Like,
Mhm.
what's the next step? What can I do to like take my career to the next level?
Yeah.
And this is when I was like, okay, like I've always wanted to go to Icon in LA, but I was like, what's like the next, like how can I make this possible?
Yeah. What's the next level?
And then COVID hits and the whole world shuts down.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. I was like, so what do we do now?
Yeah.
So that's when I really started doing a lot of ghost or production for hip hop artists at this time. And I was like, I still gonna like put out music under Forbes, but like
Yeah.
I need to figure out ways to make money.
Yeah.
And Arizona was kind of interesting with the shutdown because it like kind of shut down but didn't shut down. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I started selling franchises for Massage Envy.
You did?
I did.
Did you crush
So
that or what?
kind of like I got to the point to where like I was making pretty good money, but I was like, I hate this.
Of course, yeah.
Because I was waking up early. Like I went from playing clubs and like shows to like corporate America with like my like colored t-shirt and
Oh
like
my
dress
God.
shoes. And I had to drive all the way up to like Scottsdale. And so I was making pretty good money, but I was like, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I had my LLC for Forbes Music at the time. And so we got all the PUA money and like the pandemic stuff. So I had a decent amount of money saved up. And I went to my mom and I was like, I have some money like cushion for if I move to LA to like pay for rent. I was like, well, will you help me pay for Icon? Because I think Icon's like $25,000.
Yeah.
So she eventually agreed to it and they have like payment plans. So she was like, I'll help you, but she's like, you got to figure out how to fucking like get your shit figured out. Once you're out there, like
Right.
you got to be able to pay for all your stuff, like
Yeah,
make
yeah,
it make sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Wow, you took a fucking leap there, dude. Because LA is a lot different than Phoenix. I mean, that's not your
right.
network. You played some shows, but
Right. So we went and we did the tour. We did like the application. I got accepted to Icon and I was chatting with them. I said, so when do you think you're going to open up like the school? Because LA was still shut down.
yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do the online program. I want to do like in person the whole entire nine. So it was what, June of 2021, I
Mhm.
think, or no, June of 2022. No, it's 2021. June of 2021 is when they opened up.
Yeah.
So I had made plans to move out here. I had a little spare bedroom at one of my homies' spots that was hosting me whenever I would come out and play the underground shows. Um, so I packed up the Cayenne. I put the U-Haul, packed up the U-Haul. I had my little snake with me, and I sent it to LA. And I show up, and I have like all my studio stuff, like my big desk, and like
Yeah.
my just so much shit. And he comes down, and he's like, "Where are we gonna put all this shit?" And I was like, "In the room." He's like, "Bro, my bed and desk were like this far apart." Like,
Yeah.
I was so crammed in this room, but I was like, "Hey." I was like, we're here. We made it. We're in
Yeah.
LA. Like, this is it.
Amazing.
So I went to Icon, was doing my thing. Icon's fucking, I love it. Like everyone, like a lot of people have their own opinions about it.
I've only heard
But
good things, man.
I love it. I
Yeah.
think it made me a hell of a producer.
Mhm.
It from the time I started Icon and the time I ended Icon, like my mentors were amazing.
Yeah.
Like it just shaped me because I already knew how to produce going in, but not like I do now. And it
Yeah.
just like filled in all the gaps. So 6 months into me going Icon, have you heard of Darko?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Steve Darko?
No, it's a different Darko.
Okay.
Not Steve Darko, but his team hit me up and they're like, hey, like we love your stuff. Like we'd love for you to do a remix. And this was like my first official like real remix of Forbes project.
Yeah.
So they send me the stems, I do the remix, it gets released. And at this point, like the project was doing pretty good numbers. Like I was at like some of my tracks had a couple hundred thousand streams. Like
Nice.
it was rolling, you know what I mean? And so Darko hit me up and he's like, hey, like I have some of these vocals. Like, let me know if you want to like collab on any of this stuff. So I literally throw the vocals into a project, a same key, same BPM of this track that I was already been working on, and it fits so well. Do you know the track Means Something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it Means Something. And I was like, yo, I was like, this is crazy. So like I tightened it up after for like 4 hours, sent it back to him, and he was like, sends me the address to the studio. He's like, I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. So I pull up to the studio, and at this point, like this is my first like LA studio sesh, and I'm like,
Whoa.
like my butterflies are going. And I'm like, this is crazy. So I pull up to the session.
Yeah.
We just like hit it off. We're in the studio working on music. We're dialing it in. The song gets eventually mixed and mastered, and the label put like I think like $20,000 into the song, and they did like a full label release, full everything. The song I think is almost at like 2 million plays right now.
Whoa.
It did like radio, all this crazy stuff. I'm like, this is insane. And this was like 6 months into Icon.
Yeah.
And so the owner of the label pulls up to one of my shows in like Don Quixote or like somewhere in the middle of LA at this like warehouse party. And he pulls up with like his extended like Escalade, like bulletproof fucking like
Oh my God.
SUV, because this dude's like a billionaire.
Yeah.
So he owns the label just because he loved music and it was just boutique for him. So he gets out security, they like walk him through the back, and we get in the green room, and I'm just like, what the fuck's going on right now? And so like Darko's sitting there and he's like, so man, he's like, we want to sign you. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And everyone in the green room's like, oh my God, like what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, like let's do it. And so long story short, like we signed a year-long 360, and they ended up putting me up in a house in Hollywood. Like they were giving me like a solid like 10 to 20K promotion budget for each song. Like, so this is when the Forbes project really started like taking off, and like we hired a marketing PR like content creating girl, and like we were just like cooking at this time.
Yeah.
And this was like 6, 7, 8 months into Icon.
Holy
like
shit.
Most kids at Icon were still learning how to produce, and I got signed into a deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is crazy. And like at this point is when my dad started to like fucking, he was like, all right, like the music was getting better. He saw what I was doing, and like now I got signed to a deal, and like that's when the whole tide changed for him. From him being like, what the fuck are you doing, to like now him being like one of my biggest supporters.
That's amazing, brother.
And now even to this day, like he's helped me with the On One project, like the legal stuff, the LLCs, like getting everything legit and like packaged up so it's like a real project and a real like thing, you know what I mean? Like in conjunction with management and everything. Like,
yeah, of course.
It's been ever since like that time. And then like once my contract ended with that label is when I diverted and ended up going to Corinne and was like, I want you to sign. Like I need some help with the project. Like I think now going from being graduated out of Icon, having my project where it was, and like picking up steam, I played the Shrine. I played like that was like December, and I signed with Corinne in January. So like December, I played the Shrine with Mala and Good Boys, and then I played Sound with FOMO and Hood Politics and Wednesday. So like at this point, the project was fucking like steamrolling, and I was getting real gigs. Like, and for the longest time, I had no shows. So I was like, everyone's like, oh, when are you playing next? I was like, I don't know, but I'm just producing in the studio. And so Corinne was like, all right, let's do it. And that was January of 2023.
Wow. So you hit her up and proposed her this.
So I brought her everything. I brought her my press kit, my whole Dropbox. Everything was so organized. I had like maybe 13 unreleased tracks at this point. And she was like, let's do it. And then she called me like a week or two later, and we had a whole team meeting, and she was like, she's like, all right. So she's like, give me like a rundown of what like Forbes means to you and what like the project is and like the identity, the sound. So she's like, take some time and think about it. And she's like, I want you to like explain this to me.
Yeah.
So I went and hired one of my friends who's a consultant who does a lot of work with like Ranger Trucco and other artists, and she does branding.
Yeah.
And I hired her to help me understand what is branding.
Yeah.
Because a lot of you think branding is like, oh, I make tech house. I'm a tech house producer. Like, you know what I mean? So
everything.
She really helped me understand like identity, branding, sound, like color palettes, textures, like everything. So she gave me this like booklet to fill out. And I fill out this booklet and I bring this back to the team. And I was like, this is who Forbes is. This is what the Forbes project is. And she was like, great. She's like, you're going to have to change your name. And I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, yep. She's like, you're talking about like acid techno artists, like acid house, like techno with like this, and this. She's like, when I think of Forbes, she's like, I think of like magazines. She thinks I think of like wealth and like prestigious. Like she's like, that doesn't align with like techno, like dark, like do you know what I mean? Like that whole like
Yeah,
I
of course. Your brand. Your
yeah,
being.
so she's like, can you trademark Forbes? And I was like, well, I don't know. So I went in, I did the whole research of like the USPTO, and it came down to the point where it's like, I can't trademark it. The SEO is like, I'm gonna get buried.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, well, she's like, you gotta change your name and think of some names. So at this point, I'm like having an identity crisis.
Yeah, dude, that
I'm like,
sucks.
what the fuck? Like, what name am I going to use? Like, Forbes is such a unique name. It's always been like that. And that
Yeah.
I'm a wild child. So, like, I was like, I feel like nothing, like, what can match my energy of like, and creativity and like just uniqueness of like who I am? Like, Forbes is a unique name. And I feel like that fits me so well.
Yeah.
And at the time, FOMO and I had been talking about doing a three-way project, and we were going to do techno, and it was going to be called On One. And so the three of us were going to launch On One as like a collaborative trio.
Got it.
So at this time, I'm thinking of different names. Like I'm making a list, and I'm just like texting all my close friends and like trying to come up with like what really would make sense for like my name.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, the only thing that I could think that fits is On One. And I was like, because I want to make techno.
Yeah.
And my acid like tech house, acid bass house like vibe. And I was like, it fits that. It fits my sets, like the style of my sets. It fits my personality. And I was like, I called up the FOMO boys and I was like, look, I was like, I'm going through this shit right now. I don't know what the fuck to call myself. And I was like, can I use On One? And they're like, of course. They're like, we need to focus on our like we're none of us are at a point in our career to where like we could take on another project.
Yeah.
They're like, so
seriously, right.
They're like, I think it makes more sense for you to take the project and build it to where it needs to be because it's the only thing that made sense.
Yeah.
So
wait, what were some names that didn't make the cut though? Do you remember any?
I think one of them was I'm trying to remember. So it
Wild
was
Child. When you said that, I was like, oh, that must have been one of the names.
I had a list, but one of them was like so like obviously we had side piece on the team, people like that. So I was coming up with like some names that kind of played into like FOMO side piece, like the party boy like vibe. But I was like, I don't really want to be like the branding to be like party boy.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember. There was one that was really funny, but I forgot. So if it comes to me, I'll remember. But yeah, I mean, like that whole process of transitioning and rebranding, it's been a lot. It's been exciting, but it's really like understanding, like going from just being a DJ and a producer to now like building a real like project from scratch.
So
that
exciting,
like
bro.
You know what I mean? And like the Forbes project and like that name has like other things that are tied to it. But like when you think of On One, like, or like you look up On One, nothing really comes up. Like the only thing that people think of is the Drake song. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So there's not a lot of ties to that name. So I really gave me the opportunity to like build something unique and fresh, which is cool.
Dude, fuck yes, man. First off, so glad that we got the story because that was probably one of the best, like, here's my stories. Very well thought out and like a perfect timeline, by the way. So like kudos, bro. Because some people, it's like I'm literally like so engaged. I fucking love it, man.
And there was a lot of details that were left out, but I tried to sum it up.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. Fucking incredible for real. And I want to say it again, like I'm really proud of you for doing that because most people don't rebrand when they're forced to, right? They feel like this isn't my
Yeah.
sound. I've gone too far in this direction. And shout out to your team for being like, look, you need to really think about this because if you want to build this into a business, and people look at this both ways, right? Like I heard this a long time ago from my friend who's been in music management. An artist is the brand and a brand's the business.
Hmm.
Some people don't like that because it takes away from the artistic element, but I think it leans back into what we were saying about it being, a fortunate truth, like I said earlier. So I think it's amazing that, for any bad parts about the Ford project, maybe, like old habits or something, right? Like, the legal terms and things that your dad has helped you with a bank account, right? Like the On One project is a well-oiled fucking machine, bro. That is just
Thank you.
like so ready to grow. You've got the sound, you've got the IDs, you've got the shows, you got the network, you got the talent, you got the content, and now it's just like it's perfect. It's like David without the missing dick, dude.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm so stoked for you, man. Like, what where are you at now with it then? Because obviously you've got all these IDs. You just
Yeah.
launched the label. Like, where are we looking forward to right now? Like shows, music. Like, what's the next step for you?
So shows, we have two shows that are kind of in the works right now. We're just waiting to get final offers.
Cool.
So one of them is in Arizona, and then the next one that is kind of we've been tossing the ideas around with Area 15. So
Vegas, baby.
yeah, so round two. So
Oh no.
because we just got back from Disco Pussy.
Yeah, how
Uh,
was that?
it was great. That venue is so much fun.
I'm dying to
Um,
go there. I've heard great things.
the energy was great. Like the crowd throughout the night. Like I sent it. Like I did full techno. Like I was like I'm going in. Like and it was my first time playing. I think it was besides Exchange. I mean, it's also a headline set. So like
Mhm.
me with like having such a fresh project, like it was really interesting to see how like that market and the people would take it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you don't really know like I'm still at a point where I mean not a lot of people know the project, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to like believe in like the culture and like having those people just like ride with you. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, like you go to Disco Pussy,
Give it a
like people
chance.
that love house music are gonna show up, house and techno. So it's like
Yeah.
me believing in those people to like let me be myself and like
Yeah.
play my sound. And dude, like the crowd there was great. And I went fucking hard and they loved every second of it. So that was the coolest thing. Like I got to be myself and just play what I wanted to play. And I didn't feel like I had to conform to a mold.
Yeah.
Um,
Like an open format Forbes.
yeah, and that's what I love so much about this is it really gives me the opportunity to like be myself in every aspect.
Yeah.
But where the project's at right now, like I said earlier, is we're really focusing on trying to like dial in a lot of content and show off the tracks that we do have coming.
Mhm.
And I think right now we're sending out a ton of demos to labels to lock in the bigger labels and lock in those songs with also making a lot of edits. So I think
The
like
edits have been amazing, bro. I sent
thank
your
you.
the wax motif edit to like all my like night bass friends and they go, wow, dude, like AC Slater should play this instead. I was like, fucking he should, bro. Like
Well, the crazy thing about that, which I'm super grateful to have so many like supportive friends that are so close to Wax
yeah.
and AC Slater. So
Mhm.
like the second I sent that or second I posted it, like Henry Fong hit me up and he's like, yo, I sent this to the group chat with all the boys. And
That's
he's like, I
awesome.
sent it to Wax. And then Techno Tupac's like, yo, I sent it to AC Slater.
Yeah.
And then Wax Motif commented on the post and he's like, yo, send me this.
Oh
So I
shit.
like DM'd him and I was like, yo, here's a track. And he's like, thanks, brother, got it. So like the crazy part about that and the crazy part about the edits is like I feel like as artists, like you're so close to the biggest artists in the game
Yeah, you
by
are.
like all the I feel like the best way to connect with them because there's so many people that are DJing now, and there's so many people producing
Yeah.
that like, how do you separate yourself and how do you get closer to these artists?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's taking that leap of faith and being ballsy enough to remix songs that people aren't remixing,
Yeah.
or like being like, hey, like this is my sound, this is who I am, and like if you fuck with it, then you fuck with it. And with like the jungle remix, or like the what's the one with West End and that I did? The I forgot. But all the edits that I've done have gotten a lot of good feedback. And
Yeah.
it's helped me in a way to where my team was like, let's do like 1 to 2 edits a month
Yeah.
while we're trying to get these songs signed, make a ton of content, get the project like steamrolling on socials and content to build up the engagement and
Mm-hmm.
build up the following.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as like I could continue to drop songs on my label, I feel like we've decided to take a little bit of a step back from like just releasing music and hoping that it does well on my label. Like we've put a lot of money into the releases with ads and marketing and just trying to like build up that foundation, kind of like you said, to get the project out there.
Yeah.
But I think now it's kind of the time to get the bigger artist to really like co-sign the project.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean, like going on tours, like we put together a list of all the artists, like sound like artists, um,
Yep.
who can we see us touring with? You know what I mean? Like,
Love that.
and now it's like reaching out to them, sending them music, sending them edits, making edits of their songs to
That's
where,
who goes on tour with them, right? It's like
right.
the like-minded, like same
Yeah.
sound, people that are up and coming,
Yeah.
because the
So,
headliner ultimately is the one that's bringing out the people, and they want to put on that next generation. So that's
right.
genius.
So it's like we're at the point now to where I have so many original tracks that I think I'm kind of shifting my focus on making those edits to get those other artists to be like, yo, like I got this Miami Music Week show, or I got this like this tour. Like if you want to hop on one of the stops, like last year, my first tour that I've gone or that I went on was with Nitty. So like we did Chicago, we did New York, we did the LA at Academy. So it's like having that artist that can take you and to the next level and co-sign you, and then you start playing these shows out of state, and then your socials are growing and your edits are growing and your original music's growing. Then you get a song signed, and then the agents are like, oh, okay, like this guy would work great with this artist. So I think right now we're focusing on getting the labels to build up or to sign our project, and then from there the next step would be an agent.
I love what you said there about like how do you like they, because those artists are really only one handshake away. But like, there's so many DJs and producers out there. Then there's like the middle tier, and then there's upper middle tier or whatever, and then there's AC Slater, Wax Motif, and then David Guetta and Calvin Harris. But even still, then they're not that hard to reach. And how you get a hold of them and how you build relationships is by taking that leap of faith, introducing yourself, following up. I mean, it's like I said, bro, it's like a business. You need to have something to offer, right? So like, don't be sending them a mix to listen to. It'd be like, hey, I'm a great DJ. Like, you're an artist. Here's an edit that would work well in your sets. Like, you have that one chance. Like this one guy on our label, his name's Cajun, right? He's Brazilian. And for whatever reason, Chris Lake answered one of his DMs and was playing Hood Poly edit at the Brooklyn Mirage, right? Like same thing with Clooney. Like, you just got to go out there and do that. So I always say, like, what value are you bringing to others? Because everyone's asking constantly, like, what are you giving to them, whatever level you're at? And it takes time to get that quality or those relationships, but just know that like it is possible, bro. And I think like you explaining the fucking journey you've been on, bro. Like, you were literally, you imagine if the D1 thing happened, man, like really, like you could have been happy for sure, but it seems like to me that like you have no regrets.
No, not at all. I mean, like I always tell myself, like I have to look back like 5 years ago and like what was I doing 5 years ago? And if I would tell myself my 5-year-old self, or not 5-year-old self, but like myself 5 years ago, like, hey, you're gonna be living in LA, you're gonna be signed with this management, you're gonna have played these venues, like all this shit, I'd be like, that's fucking insane. Like, you know what I mean? And so like as much as like we're always striving for the next thing and like being successful and trying to level up the project, like it's so important for us to like remember and like really take a second to like just look at like what we've done and be appreciative of like where we're at. Because
Yeah.
like when I was playing juniors in Fort McMurray, Alberta, which is like 3 or 4 hours north of Edmonton in the middle of fucking nowhere, and it's
Fort
freezing.
McMurray.
Yes. Like, and I'm on the bus with my little MPC pad, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's like what, 2016. I'm like, oh, like Jaws is fucking playing, or Jaws is in LA going to Icon, and he's crushing it with bass house music. And
Yeah.
I'm over here like playing hockey, but like I want to go to Icon. And
Yeah.
then now looking back and being like, I did go to Icon. I'm still living in LA. I'm doing all this, and like
Yeah.
I'm living out my dream. And it's like being able to take that leap of faith and take that like those risks and like do what I love. Like it's crazy.
I completely agree, man. And like we keep talking about where the culture is at right now and content and being an artist. And I think as important it is to do all those things and work towards your future goals, it's never been more important to live in the moment because we're so short term with shit. So now
Yeah.
when I DJ, and I love what you said earlier about just like really being you. I started as an open format DJ in Chicago, right? Like I started in college too. Thought I was cool because like our frat booked Audion, and I'm like, I'm open for Audion and Cap Slap, like get fucked, Sherm. Who the
Yeah.
fuck are you, bro? Get in line, right? So I started the podcast because I wanted to meet people in a genuine way. I cut my teeth as an open format DJ, like I said, and did that for solid 6 years, but was starting to make music, and I realized that I can't do both. If I want to be an
Yeah.
artist, you're not going to get booked at the spy bars, the sound bars, the festivals and stuff, right? Because you're just an open format DJ in Chicago. So you have to take that leap of faith right there, believe in yourself. And even now, maybe a year ago, I was still like when I would DJ, like when you play an opening set for people, like I still kind of find myself like curdling up, like I don't want to play this song, but I know it might work well, but it's not
Yeah.
me. I started
Yeah.
saying, fuck that. Literally, fuck that. Like I became a DJ because I wanted to play the music that makes me happy. And I got a good feeling that they're going to like it too. Like my motto is giving the people what they didn't know they wanted, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting for me and why I feel like really good energy around house music right now, especially the house music scene. The DJ Susans, the On Ones, the FOMOs, right? Like Side Piece you mentioned, right? Like these are people that are really pushing the industry forward in a really like community focused way. And I think that kind of has been lost sometimes because of the artists that are blowing up right now. Now, given like somebody like Disco Lines is like a good dude, a great producer, and he utilized TikTok and Instagram to the 10th degree.
Yeah.
So all that's to say is I think it's never been more important to like be yourself, because if you want to be an artist, let alone a DJ producer, which is just a crazy fucking thing, isn't it, Forbes? Like what what we
Wild.
do. I mean, we
Wild.
get to experience the feeling that Shaq fucking experiences, bro. Like I'm a dude from Indiana, you're a dude from fucking Arizona that played hockey, and here we are now. And I never, it never ceases to amaze me. Like what you can really do in life.
It's the people that we get to meet and like become
That's the
friends
best.
with
Yeah.
that is like crazy for me. Like first time I met Susan was at Blind Tiger. And this is
Nice.
like as I'm still like getting close with like Binge Watch and the whole
Mhm.
crew there.
Yeah.
And this was, I forgot what show it was after, but my buddy Steven from Arizona was obsessed with Susan. And he's like DJ Susan this, DJ Susan that. So we like pull up to Blind Tiger and I see Susan there, and this is when he had the long hair. And I'm backstage and like I go up to him, I'm like, hey man, like I'm Forbes, nice to meet you. Like, what's your name? He's like DJ Susan. And I'm like, sweet. I'm like, what's your name? And he's like, I'm DJ motherfucking Susan. And I'm like, all right,
All right, that
nice to
works.
I'm like, nice to meet you, dude. And just big, burly, sweaty dude
Oh
hugging
yeah,
on me,
yeah,
the hair. I'm like, I love this guy.
yeah.
And then like throughout that night, like Matroda was there and Red Tape and the list goes on. And
Yeah.
we're in the back and I turn and I feel this big presence like over top of me. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? And I turn and it's Chami. And he's just sitting there with his like little priest thing or whatever he wears, like the father thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? And just like, literally, I'm like, hey, like,
Hey.
how's it going, man? I'm like, what's up? And he's like, hey. And I'm like, I love you. I don't even know what to say. I'm just like, I love you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
like, can I get a hug? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But but like the people you meet and like the relationships you build and like the places that I've been able to go, like especially with Susan, dude, like
Yeah.
in Miami, the time spent with him there, like in Brooklyn when I played my show there, he was playing the Mirage and like
Mhm.
us being able to come together at the Airbnb and
Isn't that
just
so
like
cool? That's what I
it's
find musical
wild.
too. Yeah.
It's wild. And then when I played Chicago and like I'll meet up with all the homies there and do the studio sessions. And then after you go to like Spy Bar and the homies are playing Spy Bar and like, especially the culture in Chicago, the house music culture there is crazy.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
it's so deeply embedded there in the roots and like it was really cool to experience it.
Yeah, and I will say too, like these days, with the younger generation, it's been so refreshing for me because up until maybe before the pandemic, like, house music wasn't like so commercialized or at least well known
Yeah.
about. And I don't want to say like commercial house is commercial, but people are really open-minded to like tech house and minimal house and tribal house and all sorts of house and techno especially, right?
Shout out Acraze.
Shout out Acraze, bro. Like
Do it to it is what did it.
I completely fucking agree. I literally I had a whole podcast episode about why that song is so fucking important and why it really turned the corner because it got those spin classes full of like young 25-year-old girls like listening to dance music like this is sick actually, and like Lady Gaga released a whole album that was like produced by Axwell and Chami and like
Right.
Diplo, of course, like his influence in pop music. And I think that's kind of what I mean by like commercial, but like songs
Yeah.
got really big to the mainstream that
Yeah.
are by definition house and tech house,
Right.
progressive house, right? And like
And then Beyonce comes out with her house music song. And then
and Beyonce
then
comes
Drake with
and
Black Coffee
Drake.
and Carnage. And
Yeah.
like now you see like Skepta. Are you familiar with
Yes.
Skepta? So
Yes, of
Skepta,
course.
and
His
then
Amy
like,
Winehouse edit is nuts.
yeah, and then Travis Scott is like with Black Coffee and Tulum. And it's like now you're seeing like,
Yeah.
oh, and fucking Kanye West with his Sunday service doing the house music. And it's
Yep.
just like, there's, it goes back to like now the roots of like true house music in Chicago and like the underground and like Detroit. And like, it's cool to see like that kind of making its way back. Even though house has never died, it's only grown stronger.
Oh
It's
yeah.
cool. It's cool to see like how massive it's becoming because now it's giving a lot of opportunities for people in like the community and in the scene and in the underground especially to like branch off and make hybrids. Now like Afro house is becoming massive
Yeah.
with like kind music and like melodic techno is taking off and doing its thing and you have like melodic house and so it's like as much as like house music like certain styles like tech house might be kind of getting like is fading a little bit like
Yeah.
other genres are popping up like so
Hmm.
like house music is never really going anywhere in
Never
my
done.
opinion. It's just like cool, these cool hybrids are like shifting, you know what I mean, and like
Oh yeah.
opening up to where now it's like it's just becoming so much more diverse, which is cool.
Yeah, it is so diverse and the scene is like giving back to it itself in so many different ways, like through artists. I mean, I think a lot of people get caught up about like they jump to the biggest goal first about like I want to play festivals, I want to play these huge shows, but it's like it is up to the fans to create the demand to get you to that point. So
Yeah,
like like we said earlier, man, like you got to be you in the studio with your content and let the people be the judge. Don't let the agents, don't let the
yeah,
promoters and stuff, right? Like it's because it comes down to the reality comes down to does a promoter want to book you because you're going to bring people, like you mentioned earlier, right? Like that's a simple
mhm,
fact to your first gateway. You want to get an agent? Well, do you sell tickets because they get a piece of your booking fee, right?
right,
Like, so all that stuff will come, but it's so important to like realize now I've got to focus. And I had problems with that. I was worried about the wrong things. And now that I focused on me and my fans and giving back to my tribe, I'm gonna use that, bro. That's really fucking good, Forbes. I've
dude.
never been
I
happier and I've
okay,
never got more opportunities.
there's this guy that sells a course and I bought the course. I bought it, all these fucking courses. Um, I bought the course and it just talks about how to build your ecosystem as an artist.
Yeah.
And he talks about your tribe and like your ecosystem and how can you get people from Instagram to Spotify and Spotify back to Instagram.
Yeah.
And building like artist project that's sustainable, that's gonna last. And I'm on episode 5 right now, and there's like 40 episodes.
Whoa.
And the stuff that that he talks about, I'll have to figure out what the name is.
Please send it to me. Yeah.
But it's crazy because it gets you outside, it gets you thinking outside of like a producer and a DJ. Like when we don't think of branding, we think of like what kind of music are we going to play in our gig and like what kind of songs are we going to make. But it's like getting outside of that mindset and thinking of branding, thinking of like your fan base and building your tribe. And like you look at Hood Politics, like, or even Tafari,
Yeah.
like those, like Tafari, Tyler's done such an amazing job at like building his tribe, and people will fucking die at the stake with Tafari stuff. And it's like he's got me hooked too, because you feel like you're a part of something bigger.
Yeah,
You really
man,
do.
tap into the frequency. I completely agree. It's insane.
And I mean, just his whole story. And like, it's cool because when you have something that people can relate to and that people want to be a part of, like, it just makes it so much stronger. And I think that's the next step, is figuring out like what kind of tribe I can build for On One, to where people are like, yo, like, I feel like, I think a lot of it is like the inner gremlin and the inner like chaos, to where
Yeah.
it's like just being yourself
Mhm.
and not feeling like you have to fit some kind of mold. You know what I mean? It's like, I just want to be myself. And if that means like taking risks and doing things that don't feel comfortable, then it's like, I'm going to do that, because it's like, I want to be different. I want to be myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm still working on that, but my kind of description and like definition of On One is just being your truest form, like being you know what I mean? And like being On One, just like when I come out and like when I play, it's like I'm bringing the energy, and I'm just gonna be a wild child. Like you look at Fisher and he's just fucking crazy. He's himself.
Yeah.
And you look at Jake Shore, especially. Jake Shore is a
Yeah.
fucking another story.
Yeah.
Like, and when we're all together, like when we were in the Airbnb in OC when we played Time,
Yeah.
like I was riding a longboard on my stomach through all the boys' legs like bowling pins, and all the boys were just like, and I'm like, this is it. Like we're all just being chaotic, and that's just
Yeah.
who like he is, and that's who I am. And it's like, so it's cool. He inspires the fuck out of me to just like
Me too.
fuck everyone. Like I'm doing what I want. And so Jake Shore, he's on to something, dude. Like,
Yeah, I know. He's the king. He's a huge inspiration for me too. And he's had a lot of haters along the way. And that's how you
dude, I have to say, I used to hate on him so hard, and I did. I was like, dude, I can't stand this guy.
So you're maybe a little
And
jealous, right?
and then I got to the point where I was like, I get it though. It's because he's free. Like he's doing what he wants and he doesn't give a fuck. And like the minute that I accepted that, like I saw what he's doing and I fell in love with it. And I'm like, dude, this guy's crushing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a bit of it was I was jealous. I was like,
It's hard.
dude,
It's hard not to be
yeah.
when they shoot up like that. But he worked so fucking hard, bro. You know, he went to he did the Lee Foss repopulate course during lockdown too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and everything changed for him when he started taking the music seriously.
Yeah.
Damn. God damn. Okay. We got to end on the story of your hat.
Okay. So we went down to San Diego this last weekend for Susan's show at Bloom.
Shout out.
And shout out. That show was insane. The whole entire night felt too perfect. Like
Damn.
everything was just aligning so well. And like
Mhm.
we were in the car driving to the show with, it was me, Susan, Mogsy, and um Michael J.
Yeah.
And Michael screaming
Of course.
in the car. You know how he's and so we get to the show, we get in there, they crush it, the night's going crazy. Like everything was just so perfect. I'm like, dude, this is insane.
Wow.
And we get to the after party and there's a ball pit, like the big ball pit house. And I'm in the ball pit. There's like 30 of us just like coasting in the ball pit. And
That's epic.
the house is just packed, like 300 people. Crazy ass house party. I was shocked that Sue wanted to go there. And because I've been to this house before and it's wild.
Yeah.
And So I get out and I have, do you know those hats with like the horse on it and it has like a little thing where it's like
Of course.
or like a rooster and it says cock. So
Yeah.
like I had mine on and it was I think it was a stallion. It was a horse and I had like the little what are those little roots or the sprouts? I had like a
Yeah.
little sprout and so throughout the night all these girls were like, "Oh my God, I love your sprout. I love your sprout." Blah blah. So I got out of the ball pit and this girl had this Prada hat on. And she's like, "Oh my God, like I love your sprout." And she's like, "Your hat too, like it's such a vibe." And she's like, "Can I put it on?" I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Is that real? Like I love that Prada hat." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Can I feel it?" And she's like, puts it on me. And I'm like, "Ooh, this is a vibe." So like I put it on and like we take a picture.
That's like good.
And so she's like rocking with the hat and I'm like vibing out. We're all in the same like group. And I'm like, okay, like then like my like ADD, I'm like squirrel. And I'm just like, I would just start like talking to like my group here. And then like 30 minutes go by and I look and I turn and she's gone. And I'm like, oh no. I was like, where's my hat? And then I was like, where I need to give her back hat back. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is
That's
like
nice.
$800. I'm like, so I'm like looking for her throughout the house. And then I like hit up my buddy. I was like, yo, like, do you remember like that girl you were talking to? And he's like, yeah, I don't know where she went. I was like, when you see her, like, I need to get her hat back. I was like, I need to get my hat back too. Dude, the whole night goes on. Don't see her.
Oh shit.
Literally for the rest of the night. And I'm like, tell my buddies, I was like, hey, I was like, if you see her, let her know I have her hat. I was like, it's in good hands, but I was like,
Yeah.
it looks good, so I'm gonna take care of it. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe we do a little trade and barter thing there, but I was like, I don't know if it works like that. She's gonna definitely want the hat back. So
Yeah. Hey,
for the
bro, she
time
was on
being,
one.
she was on one. I was like, hey, I was like, you put it on my head. I didn't,
Yeah.
I was like, so I was like, thanks for that gift.
Holy shit. It does look really good on
It
you.
was a good come up. It was a
Yeah.
nice little one.
Look at you. My God. Forbes, never a dull moment with you, brother. That's for sure.
Likewise.
I
We got to
miss
run back. We got to run that San Diego vibe back because when
I
we get
had
down
so
there, it
much
gets
fun.
crazy.
That was one of those trips where I was like, I gotta move here one day. Like, fuck, man, that place is so good. How do you like living in LA though?
I love it. I
Yeah.
think the cool thing about LA is you're so close to a lot of other places like San
Yeah.
Diego and Arizona.
Yeah.
So like I would say that the community and the tribe and all my friends, a lot of friends are down in San Diego,
Hmm.
but like business wise, LA and like network wise and the shows and the community, like
Yeah.
it's so strong here and there's so much like it's such a powerhouse that it's hard to like
Yeah.
justify not being here.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
for sure.
I mean, there's so many options for everyone. Like whatever your thing is, whatever your sound is, there's like 10 fucking things you could do.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's the cool thing is like there's something for everyone.
That's awesome. Fuck yeah, dude. Well, geez, man, bro. I knew this was gonna be a great interview, and it has been absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad that we finally did this. And again, bro, mad props to you, mad respect. Like, I'm so stoked that this project is like really turning into something. And it's no surprise. Like the music speaks for itself, and you do too. So I'm really happy for you, brother.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on and taking the time. And just so people know too that are maybe just listening, it's on_1 to find you on social media, right? For the SEO.
Mm-hmm. Yep. ON_1.
Oh, all about the SEO, bro.
Right. And I was like, all right, the underscore gives it a little like kind of underground warehouse vibes. It
It
kind of fits
definitely
the
does.
techno. I was gonna do ONONE. I was like, that kind of like when it's like out like that long, I was
Yeah.
it kind of looks like Clooney and it's
Yeah.
got that like house vibe. And I was
That could
like,
be cool.
yeah, I was like, I think the underscore definitely fits the industrial vibe.
Show you got the logo on your sweater. I want to see it for everybody. Look at that.
And
That
then
that is hard as fuck, honestly.
oh, can you see the back?
Yeah, dude. Nice ass too. There we go.
Thank you.
You got the Lulus on? Are those Lulu?
Yeah. Nice ass.
All right,
It's that
brother.
goalie
Well,
ass.
thanks for coming on again. I appreciate you, and I will be seeing you next week in Miami.
Yes, you will.
You're going
That's scary.
Monday to Sunday. Are you good?
I'm gonna get some sun.
Yeah, there you go. For sure, you will. Yeah, you're gonna get some sun.
I've been in the studio too much.
You're gonna be Up all night, and then you'll get some sun in the evening, though, for sure.
Ugh. Well, this
I'll
has
see
been
you
a
soon.
this has been a dream come true. It's
Dream
been
come true. Let's
It has. It's
go.
been 2 years in the making. I was driving home from San Diego to LA and I
Yeah.
was listening to your podcast. I think you're talking to West End.
Yeah.
And I was like, who's this Sherman the Booth guy? Because I was listening to like who's the Joe Rogan podcast, and I was
Yeah.
like, I need to listen to some like stuff that's like about the culture and like about
Yeah.
house music. And I was looking, I was like, all right, Sherman the Booth. And it's
Yeah.
like, what up? It's Sherman the Booth. I'm like, okay, all right, what's this about?
I caught you. There we go.
So I was like, all right, one day I was like, I'm gonna be on this shit.
And you did it, brother. Fuck
2
yeah.
years later.
Yeah. Oh my God. And good timing though with it all, honestly.
Yeah, so it's been a treat and I really appreciate it.
Of course, brother. I love you, man. I can't wait to see you soon. Thanks for coming on again.
I love you too.
Love you.
Man, do I love Sherman the Booth. Oh, hey, I think you do too. Hope you enjoyed that piece of content. If you're looking for more, make sure to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any upcoming Sherman the Booth interviews, live sets, new music, exclusive artist interviews, Sherm's Word, sub-pack reviews, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything entertainment. Cheers.